UFC Fight Night Vegas 56 Volkov versus Rozenstruik just took place, and I went undefeated on the entire card, 14-0. Perfect prediction record for the entire card, and now I'm going to break it down and react to every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my event recap at the end of this video as well. Let's start straight away with the early prelim opener of Erin Blanchfield versus JJ Aldrich. I picked Erin Blanchfield to win. I think that I said that she would win inside the distance, and she got it done inside the distance with a guillotine in the second round. JJ Aldrich did put up a bit of a fight, had some success in the first round and even the second round as well. Initiated the takedowns first, which I thought was a very good idea because Erin Blanchfield is going to go out there and grapple herself, so why not try to beat her to that game? And she tried to. She got a couple of takedowns, but Erin Blanchfield refused to stay on bottom, eventually found the guillotine in the second round, and out goes JJ Aldrich. Second round submission for Erin Blanchfield. Very big win, and she's a good prospect in the women's flyweight division because she's young, and she can improve massively as she continues to go. And she's 9-1. Women's flyweight. The only problem is, women's flyweight, if she wins another 2 more fights, they're just going to give her to Shevchenko to pad Shevchenko's legacy even more, just like they did with Taylor Santos. I feel like they should wait before giving these prospects at flyweight some of these big matchups. I think they just did Chookagian versus Manon Fiorot. Like, Manon Fiorot needs like 2 more, 3 more, and then maybe she'll be a threat for the title. But either way, Erin Blanchfield won. And she's looking impressive, so I do think she'll make it to the top 5 at some point, and likely a title shot. Moving on, up the card, Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Andreas Michailidis. Rinat won the fight by grounding out Andreas Michailidis for 3 rounds, taking him down over and over again in every round, 13 minutes of top control, and just landing total strikes and significant strikes for the victory. It was a very dominant performance over Andreas Michailidis, and really just showed levels of grappling. Andreas Michailidis is a guy who could sort of control Alex Pereira on the ground for the first round of their fight, but here comes Rinat, a very, very high-ranked guy, great record coming into the UFC, not highly ranked, but high-ranked regional fighter coming over into the UFC, very touted prospect. He hasn't fought the best of competition until recently, but he just dominated Andreas Michailidis, so he looks really good, really impressive performance. I said he would win. He got the win. Rinat gets it done. Moving on, up the card, Jeff Molina versus Zhalgas Zhumagulov. I picked Jeff Molina to win this one by decision, and I think he did win by decision. I really do. It's a damage-based sport. Round 1 could go Zhalgas Zhumagulov's way, I guess. But when it comes to round 2 and 3, Jeff Molina outlanded him on total strikes, outlanded him on significant strikes, and Zhalgas didn't really do anything with the takedowns either, so I don't mind a decision. I'm not just saying that because I picked Jeff Molina to win. I genuinely don't mind a decision there because it's a damage-based sport. It's the Carlos Condit versus Matt Brown situation. You have to do damage with your grappling. If you're getting out total struck and out significantly struck in a round, you're going to lose that round unless you have some kind of submission attempt here and there that's almost in. We'll get to the Damon Jackson fight soon. But, yeah. I don't know. I don't think there's any controversy there. I get that Zhalgas was pushing him up against the cage and trying to take him down a lot, but Jeff Molina was staying busy in the clinch, throwing little punches, and that's how you win a fight on damage. Jeff Molina gets it done. Moving on up the card, Johnny Munoz versus Tony Gravely. I picked Tony Gravely to win this one. I said he would win this one by decision. He won by first round TKO, and I'm never picking Johnny Munoz to win a fight ever again. Tony Gravely is not really a big power puncher. He does have some power in his hands, but it's not like he's known for shutting the lights out on people in the first round a lot of times. But that was the weakest KO I've ever seen in my life. He barely even winded up the punch. The punch didn't even go past his body. He just sort of winded it up to throw it, and then Munoz shot into the wind up of the punch, and it somehow KO'd him and put him away. One back of the head shot in transition, so not too terrible. And the rest of them, he kept it clean, tucked it around the side of the head. And yeah, big win from, a big win from Tony Gravely. He looked good, man, really, really good. And Johnny Munoz, I doubt I'll ever pick him again because I can't trust a chin like that. Fair play if you get hit by like Derek Lewis's uppercut and your Curtis Blades at heavyweight, but this was nowhere near as clean, nowhere near as winded up or like thrown. It was just a barely winded up punch that Johnny Munoz basically headbutted the fist of Gravely and KO'd himself with. Crazy. Moving on. Up the card. Niklas Stolze versus Benoit St. Denis. I picked Benoit St. Denis by second round submission. And he got it done by second round submission. At the end of the first round, he had some really good control. And he had a rear naked choke attempt on Niklas Stolze, which I believe was going to end the fight because it was in. It was over. Niklas Stolze didn't know that he had time left. I reckon he would have tapped at that point as well. He barely survived the first round. And then Benoit St. Denis got back into good positions, found his way into side control, and just worked from there to take the back and get the submission win in the second round over Niklas Stolze. Sucks to be Niklas Stolze. I reckon he's going to get cut from the UFC now. And Benoit St. Denis, a really good submission. He lost to Alessio Zaleski dos Santos, so it's good to see him get a win, get his money, and not take too much damage like he did last time. He got hit with a knee in the first round, opened up a cut on his cheek, but nothing too bad. He said he wants to fight at UFC London instead of UFC Paris. No, we don't have many French fighters. Put him on the Paris card. I beg of you, please. I don't need to see this guy at UFC London. I know his wedding is a week before Paris. Delay it by 2 weeks and have it the week after Paris. Let's be real. Like, just delay it 2 weeks. It's already however many months away. I get it. It takes a lot of planning. You just got paid. Delay it a few weeks and fight at UFC Paris so you can get that fan base. Either way. Benoit St. Denis, great submission win. Moving on up the card. Damon Jackson versus Dan Argueta. Damon Jackson wins the fight. I actually don't even mind if it went to Dan Argueta, to be honest with you. I know I was undefeated this card, but there was a couple of decisions that were pretty closer. And also, we'll get to the next fight after this as well, which was a very weird decision. But Damon Jackson, yeah, he won the first round, in my opinion, quite clearly with submission attempts, and Dan Argueta didn't really do too much damage in the first round either, and Damon Jackson just kind of dominated that round 10-9. Round 2, Dan Argueta was doing a little bit of power damage back, and he landed a couple of shots when they got back up to their feet, landing some punches, but Damon Jackson was also landing some as well, going for the rear naked choke attempts over and over again. I guess they really valued the rear naked choke attempts and valued the fact that he was on the back of Dan Argueta as well. So yeah, Damon Jackson. Good performance. Not really, though. Almost got finished in the third round. Got rocked all over the place. Somehow a judge gave him 30-27, I believe, which is absolutely ridiculous. That's pre-written. I don't think you can give him that third round, although he did land some really big shots on Dan Argueta as well in the third. I don't think he won the third round by any way of scoring. So, Damon Jackson did enough in the second with the rear naked choke attempts and the back take in general. Dan Argueta just didn't do enough of the damage in those positions, but had a great third round, a really good third round. His elbows were really good, but he just wasn't hustling the same way Jeff Molina was. And also, Damon Jackson got a way more dominant position than Zhalgas and Zhumagulov did by taking the back and actually having some submission attempts to give him some scored points. Either way, another fight correct. Moving on. Up the card, Joe Solecki versus Alex da Silva Coelho. This was a draw. There was a point deduction, which was pretty crazy. First round is clearly Alex da Silva Coelho. No 10-8. He almost got guillotined at the end of it. Managed to scramble out of it. Didn't really do too much damage on top either. But he knocked him down in the first round. Knocked down Joe Solecki, who with a beard looks exactly the same as Mike Perry, by the way. I couldn't unsee that as I was watching the fight. Someone in my chat mentioned it, and I just couldn't unsee it. But Alex da Silva Coelho... if anyone wins, it's him without the point deduction, but he got a point deduction, so it would have been a 10-8 in the second round to Joe Solecki where he dominated. I guess a judge could give 10-7 because Solecki really did just dominate the whole round on Alex da Silva, but I don't think it was a 10-8 round without the point deduction. I had it 10-8 in the second with a point deduction, 10-9 to Alex da Silva in the first, and 10-9 to Alex da Silva in the third. I had it a draw. But they gave it to Joe Solecki and made me an undefeated predictor on this card. So whatever, I guess. Not the best of decisions. Moving on. Up the card. Felice Herrig versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I went with Karolina Kowalkiewicz by decision. She ended up getting a finish in this fight. There's a bug on that. Hang on. I killed it immediately. Hopefully karma doesn't bite me there. That was a death. You guys just witnessed murder. I just killed a bug. I just killed a life. A life has ended. But we just move on, eh? Fuck him. Felice Herrig versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I went with Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Good performance by her, to be fair. She put the pressure on. Good knees in the clinch. Good hooks here and there. And this was actually the first fun fight of the card, in my opinion. A couple of the other fights that took place were a little bit lackluster. The finishes weren't too great to watch. Yeah, but this one was really good. Good scrap back and forth. Karolina Kowalkiewicz showed great takedown defense, won the scrambles here and there, and had a couple of submission attempts. She almost had the rear naked choke in round 1, but Felice Herrig just wouldn't tap, and she didn't really have the right angle and didn't have the right strength to really put on the choke and finish it at the end of round 1 after a high pace. But in round 2, she got a submission attempt a lot earlier, gave her a better chance of winning, and she got the finish in round 2 by rear naked choke. Good win by Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She gets the job done, and Felice Herrig retired from the sport 14-10. Not the most anticipated retirement where everyone's like swooning and crying over it, but at the same time, veteran retired from the sport. She probably would have got cut anyway, so better to go out on your own terms. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, good performance. Moving on to the main card, I picked Alonzo Menifield by first round TKO. He got the job done by first round TKO, but he got it done in a weird way. He got a crucifix win. Askar Mazarov has no ground game whatsoever in any way at all. We knew this coming in. He has a fake record. It's all weird. It's all mad. He fought low-level guys. He has good hands on the feet. He did bare knuckle here and there in his career as well. Has some boxing experience. He is quite good on the feet and actually did do okay in the few exchanges they had when they were on the feet versus each other. But Alonzo Menifield just kept taking him down, grounding him out. And for some reason, Alonzo Menifield hated him. I don't know why. I don't get it. I mean, Askar was like, come on the feet and like egging him on and stuff. But other than like the weird record, which Askar blames on like incorrect input by some of the promoters that he was working with, some of the weird shows that he was on, Menifield just said he doesn't like the way Askar looks. He's privileged because he's from Ukraine. Weird. I don't care. I mean, it's cool he's getting angry. I just love the backlash to send him back to China from Cody Durden. I don't like the way he looks is the only reason I'm angry at him. He's privileged from being from Ukraine, a place which is being invaded right now and bombed to smithereens. He's privileged to be from there. Alright, dude. Alonzo Menifield, sitting in his house in America. Real tough time he's having compared to Ukrainian citizen Askar Mazarov. What privilege he has to have his hometown and home country blown to smithereens. That privileged bastard. Either way, weird post-fight interview, but I think Alonzo Menifield's got a chance at doing something. He's 34, so probably not really, but he can put together some wins here and there and make some good money for himself, I guess. He's been around for a while now. He does have a good win over Paul Craig as well, which is pretty decent, so maybe if he gets like a rematch against someone that's like going to put him in the rankings, maybe he can slide above Paul Craig for that reason and get a good spot because of it. But yeah, Alonzo Menifield just, I think he's autistic. If I had to take a guess. I think he's got autism, so I think we can just let it slide. There's nothing wrong with what he said in the post-fight interview. It's just, I know there'll be no reaction of backlash or weirdness from the media like there was when Cody Durden made a simple comment. Either way, moving on. Ode Osborne versus Zaruk Adashev. Ode Osborne got the win, first round TKO. I thought he'd win this one by decision because we haven't really seen the KOs from him, other than KO and Jerome Rivera, who everyone finishes early on because it's Jerome Rivera. Ode Osborne, great finish in the first round. This was the first great finish of the card. In my opinion, really appetizing, really appealing to watch. It didn't make me hungry. But either way, Zaruk Adashev was 4-3. Shouldn't have even been in the UFC in the first place. Now he's 4-4. For fuck's sake, cut him from the promotion. We can't have a 4-4 recorded guy fight for the company. I don't know how they're going to manage to keep him around. Get rid of him. He should be cut from the UFC. Ode Osborne scored a first round KO because he's not 4-3. Great first round KO from Ode Osborne though. Looked good, looked calm, looked patient. Zaruk actually landed a couple of big shots here and there, but Ode just sort of leaned back, counter right hook. Adashev left himself open, got rocked badly, and then the follow-up shots from Ode Osborne were all that was needed. But Adashev actually was landing some decent shots on Ode early on, but Ode eventually found the shot that put him out, and Adashev just isn't really defensively aware on the engagements. Moving on up the card to another matchup, Karine Silva versus Poliana. Oh, and also Ode Osborne, good post-fight interview, very charismatic. I cringed at one point when he said, I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, because I thought he was just going to start rapping the song. I took a look at myself and realized there's nothing left, because I've been blazing and glassing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. You know what I mean? I thought he was going to start doing that, so I was cringing, but he didn't. He just used that one line. And O'Day. He was good. Personality on the microphone, so good for him. Moving on. Up the card, Karine Silva versus Poliana Botelho. Karine Silva got the Darce choke in the first round. Decent, okay scrap on the feet. Not really too many shots landed back and forth. A couple of clean ones here and there from both of them. They were swinging very heavy in the fight, but Karine Silva eventually found the Darce choke on a bad takedown of Poliana Botelho. Rolled her over, found the right position. Eventually, Poliana Botelho had to tap out. Karine Silva gets a first round submission. Very, very good win from her. She gets the job done. She's 15-4. I think this one was pretty obvious if you've watched any of her recent fights. She's way better than Poliana Botelho, so I got that one right as well. Moving on. Up the card, Mike Trizano versus Lucas Almeida. Guru just picked the favourites. I picked the underdog, the big underdog. Lucas Almeida, my underdog of the card. This guy's going to win. He shouldn't be the underdog against Trizano. He can scrap for days. He's got good grappling, and he can also swing when he needs to. There was a headbutt, though. I rewatched it. He sort of just like crashed in to Mike Trizano on the ground, and they clashed heads on the ground when it happened. Not intentional, though. People are like, oh, intentional. They aren't even giving him any credit for the win. It was a great performance, but he just accidentally clashed heads, which opened up a cut. That didn't change the outcome of the fight. He already got rocked by then. Like, it was still like a swing in favour in the way of Lucas Almeida. But that cut isn't nice. And he did just sort of like, as he came in for a shot, just sort of crashed heads with Mike Trizano on the ground. Enough not to give Corey Anderson the Bellator world title, but not enough to give Mike Trizano a timeout, I guess. But they did stop it and stuff like that. I think Trizano groin shot him at one point as well. But either way, Lucas Almeida, great performance. Got dropped in the first round by Mike Trizano. Very, very good performance there in the first by Trizano. Looked very patient. He was losing the first round early. Almeida landing body kicks. He was hooking back and forth. I mean, he had great hook combinations, but left himself open here and there. Got dropped at the end of the first and ended up losing that round. Round 2 and 3, he got dropped in both of them, did Trizano. Lucas Almeida just landing those hooks. Last round, round 3, early on, he's swinging back and forth. He waits a little bit. Trizano throws the right hand. Almeida counters with a left hook when he finds the opening right on the temple of Mike Trizano. Rocks him badly, finishes him off. Great performance by Lucas Almeida. Sure, the headbutt's a bit of controversy, but it's an MMA fight. These shitty things happen. He looked great other than that, though. In all honesty, Lucas Almeida, great performance, third round KO, fight of the night for sure. Speaking of fight of the night, Evloev fought his fight with fight of the night. I don't think it was that competitive. It was a great performance by Movsar Evloev, really good performance. First round, Evloev, great flying knee that he landed in the first round. He looked great on the feet, way better than we've ever seen him before on the feet, because this is a guy who, leading into this, went to a split decision with Nick Lentz that he should have won, but Nick Lentz, a really, really close decision with Enrique Barzola where he got outstruck but got takedowns at the end of the rounds to secure himself the rounds. Like, this is a different Evloev than we've ever seen before in his career. He's never looked this good before. So either it's Dan Ige being a bit done and not being able to fight grapplers because he was losing the exchanges to Masad Bektic and losing to Korean Zombie in the grappling exchanges as well. And Korean Zombie couldn't really do anything to Yair on the ground if he tried, so Dan Ige, his main problem is the grappling, and it got exposed again today by Movsar Evloev with a great performance. He looked much better on the feet. He got cracked early on by a right hand from Ige, sort of stumbled backwards a bit, but that flying knee changed things in that first round massively. He was finding the body quite well, landing some good jabs here and there, just keeping his guard nice and high. And that flying knee really did change momentum. It hit Ige. I think he didn't realize how badly he rocked Ige because he didn't really like change his tempo to go after Ige for a finish. But I really think he could have done because Ige was just like, he switched off for a bit. Like, you know what I mean? Evloev looked good in the first round on the feet. And I think he did better cardio-wise than usual because I know the Weasel is smugly saying, I don't know why cardio was ever a problem. No one should have ever thought cardio was a problem for Evloev, but it has been a problem. He slowed down against Dawodu, slowed down against Lentz, slowed down against every single person he's fought in his entire career in the third round. His third round's his weakest round usually. He really does slow down in the third. You have to be blind not to see that in his career so far. But I think the main difference in this fight was he didn't rely on his grappling the whole time. Usually, he grapples so hard in rounds 1 and 2 against a fresh opponent, so they're able to scramble his takedowns a little bit easier. But in this fight, he waited to implement his grappling, went to the body on the feet, did some more stand-up work first, and then just mixed in the takedown at the end of the round to secure the round for himself score-wise. And that was much better from him, because usually he goes so hard with the grappling, he ends up in a guillotine, he ends up in a bunch of scrambles that he doesn't really like, and then he ends up slowing down as the fight goes on. But this time he was way more efficient with his cardio, better work on the feet, still a little bit defensively unaware here and there, but he beat Dan Ige comfortably. Really good performance by Movsar Evloev, conserving his cardio way more, being a lot more efficient with his work, and the third round was dominant too, so good performance by him, really good win. Dan Ige, I don't know, probably Sadiq Youssef or, I don't know, someone else, the winner of Burgos Jourdain, I guess, could be a matchup to put him against, but Dan Ige is on a rough slide. I don't know where he's going to go with his career. He's kind of been figured out by grapplers. So give him a striker if you want him to have a chance. But grapplers are going to figure out Dan Ige all the time, I think. So Evloev got a good win. Called out Arnold Allen. I don't see him getting that fight. But yeah, good performance by Movsar Evloev. Really good win. Moving on. Up the card, Alexander Volkov versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Let's talk about this. Alexander Volkov with an amazing first round TKO. The stoppage is the controversial part of this, so I'll talk about that mainly. But let's talk about the first part of the fight. It was a battle of kicks. Volkov was out kicking Rozenstruik early on. He was completely changing stance. Usually you see Volkov against guys who he knows doesn't have too much power and maybe want to take him down like Tybura. He looks a lot slower. So he was a lot more patient, and he sort of throws hooks on the inside to try and catch him coming in and take one to give one and stuff like that. But yeah, Volkov took shots off Rozenstruik well, and he changed his style. I assumed he would change his style to more of the Walt Harris style that he has, and he did change it to the Walt Harris style. Kicks on the outside, power jabs, straight shots rather than hooks all of the time. Something he should have done more of against Derek Lewis, but he sort of got caught up trying to finish Lewis here and there, but Lewis kept surviving it. But Volkov looks good. Leg kicks, body kicks, front kicks to the body at range as well. Rozenstruik landed a couple of good kicks. At one point, Rozenstruik had a bit of a combo that he landed of like 2 shots, just winging hooks. Massive amounts of hooks on Alexander Volkov. Volkov just shelled up well, kept his guard high, kept his chin tucked, make sure he took him on the top of the head and stuff, and didn't really get KO'd by them or shook by them whatsoever. So he just sort of was defensively aware and not crashing into Rozenstruik, so it didn't really have the same power that it would have than we've seen Rozenstruik KO opponents before with, when he catches them on the chin or catches them coming towards him like Arlovsky or Sakai. But Volkov looked good, very patient, and eventually lands a straight right hand right down the pipe, rocks Rozenstruik badly, and then goes in for the finish, teeing off on Rozenstruik. Big combinations. The stoppage. The best stoppage? No. Understandable stoppage to where I'm not going to roast Herb Dean for it. Yeah. It's understandable stoppage. Sometimes people judge a stoppage based on what happens after the stoppage is made. What happens after the stoppage is made? I judge a stoppage based on what we see before the stoppage is done. You know what I mean? That's the better way to do things, because that's the point of view the referee has. What does he see before he makes the stoppage to make him want to stop it? Not once he stopped it, but Jairzinho got back up. Like, people get back up. They do. It's going to happen. Messy stoppage, weird one, yeah. Should he have let it go a little bit longer? Yeah. Would Volkov have finished Rozenstruik if Herb Dean didn't push him off and let Rozenstruik have the chance to get back up? Because if Volkov doesn't get pushed off, he's just raining down shots on a hunched over Rozenstruik against the cage. The only reason Rozenstruik could even get back up and run a little bit was because Herb Dean had pulled Volkov off of him already. Straight right hand rocks Rozenstruik, combinations, and here's a big deal as well. A referee is going to see a fight different when you get rocked, you get wobbled against a cage, you're already in a finishing situation where you could be finished, so the ref's on high alert. Heavyweight fight, you've been rocked, you're against a cage taking shots. Then you get smacked against a cage, you do nothing but cover up. Then you get uppercutted and comboed, and your mouthpiece goes flying, and you slump down a little bit in your stance. I can understand why Herb Dean jumped in. It makes sense to why Herb Dean jumped in. When you think about all of the visuals, rocked, stumbled badly, You know, Volkov teeing off, a big Volkov with power in his hands, as we've seen against other guys recently in his career. Big combinations, boom, boom, boom. Rocks him again against a cage. Rozenstruik just covers up, not throwing back or anything like that, or trying to move, or trying to shoot a takedown. Just covering up and trying to defend himself. And then Volkov lands an uppercut hook combo and sends the mouthpiece flying. Spit comes out, a noise is made like, and then Volkov... and then Rozenstruik just slumps down a little bit. You can understand why Herb Dean stepped in. Awkward stoppage. I'm not going to blame him for it, though. It makes sense as to why a referee would see those signs and think, I'm going to jump in here. Because otherwise, he could just be a late stoppage by far. You know what I mean? So I'd rather it that way. But yeah, not the cleanest of stoppages, but not one I'm going to shit on Herb Dean for. He just seems to be in a lot of these situations, though, unluckily for him. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. And how good does Tom Aspinall look? I'm definitely picking him to beat Blades because he made a fool of Volkov. And Volkov just tuned up Rozenstruik. So he's still got it. I thought maybe Volkov might be done. Who knows? But he's having good performances against a lot of people. Everyone, pretty much. Other than Aspinall, who destroyed him. So I'm sort of solidified on my underdog pick of Aspinall, and I wouldn't be surprised if Aspinall now becomes a favourite against Blades because he's an underdog. Like and subscribe. Toodle Pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. 14-0 undefeated on the card. I didn't pick the Damon Jackson fight in my prediction video because it didn't show up on the thing, but I did pick it live. I said Damon Jackson's going to win, so yeah. Toodle Pip. See you later. Goodbye.